Welcome back, folks. Today we're talking about the belts required to drive the wheel on a big wheel scooter and the 102 tooth sprockets. The SCOOTR model has a plastic and the rest of the models have this aluminum, or if you have a Cobra Extreme or the Rocky, you actually have chain drive over here. But the factory belt is a 1005M18, which is fine, other than the wider the belt, the stronger. Some people have been running 15 wides, which is, significantly narrower than an 18. We found that there does appear to be enough room on this wheel sprocket to run a 20 wide. The wider the belt, the stronger the belt. So what we're suggesting is to make sure that you don't have the belt trying to walk up over this lip. With a 20 wide belt that covers pretty much the whole wheel sprocket, that would be the 1005M20. We've come up with a procedure where we put a shim spacer behind the sprocket so that it moves the wheel sprocket out, allowing enough room for the belt to ride. Now we realize there may be a slight, I don't know, not even an 1/8 of an inch, a 1/16 of an inch or something, overhang of the belt off this front sprocket. Doesn't matter. The wider the belt, the stronger the belt. So what we're going to do is just take the sprocket off, slip in our spacer, put the wheel back on, and be able to run a 20 wide belt. Still waiting to hear back from a customer that has a SCOOTR with the steel wheel and the plastic sprocket. Whether this procedure will work on his, whether he needs this aluminum sprocket, or what, because on the SCOOTR this lip is on the inside. So in order for this procedure to work on the SCOOTR big wheel or models with a plastic sprocket and a steel wheel, you probably have to flip the sprocket and possibly change out to this one, and also flip this one up here. On a SCOOTR, this one's turned around backwards with the lip out, and this one's turned around backwards with the lip in. So it's possible this will work for a SCOOTR, but if you have a big wheel with aluminum sprocket, this will work on your scooter, especially if you have the aluminum wheel. Other ones remain to be tested. So with one of these spacers, you can just drop it over your wheel there. So basically the spacer fits in the back side of the sprocket, creating just enough width to allow a full 20 wide belt sprocket to run on these scooters. The bolts that come from the factory that hold on the aluminum wheel sprocket came up a little short. They didn't have much penetration. So what we did was added the stainless steel washers and the little bit longer bolt that's actually the factory bolt for your magneto flywheel fan cover right here. These two bolts right here are actually the bolts that we used to hold on this sprocket. So I suppose that's probably the difference between a like a 5M15 long and a 5M20 long, something like that. See if we can get them side by side here so you can see the difference in length there. So they're just a little bit longer for a little bit more penetration. It just doesn't grab enough threads, the factory bolt. So when using this shim, your factory bolts could come up a little bit short. So we recommend replacing those bolts to make sure you don't pull out those last couple threads out of your wheel. With the wheel back up in there and the axle nuts lightly snugged enough to hold the wheel back in there. Like we said, this was a 5M18 1000 belt. It's an 18 wide factory, and with this shim it is now a 20 wide by moving the sprocket from left to right with that spacer. So the easiest way to put on one of these belts is you can do this with the cover on. We have the cover removed today, and we've also disconnected our throttle cable and fuel line so we can get the engine out of the way to show tracking once this is installed. So let's grab our 20 wide belt one more time. The easiest way to install these belts is to hook it over the rear axle shaft, put it up on the front sprocket, and then feed it on down around. Then once you've got it like that, you can loosen your axle nuts, let the wheel slide all the way forward, and then check your belt adjustment. Proper belt adjustment should be a quarter twist rule. So if it easily goes up to a quarter turn or slightly beyond a quarter turn from 90 degrees from flat to vertical, if it's hard to go much of any past that, then you probably have proper tension. If you could flip this belt upside down, it's too loose. If you're straining to get it to that quarter turn, it's probably too tight. So there is the tracking on our 20 wide belt. It fills the whole tire sprocket and overhangs the front sprocket just by a hair. But now you've got a super wide, super strong belt.